It's Tom numbers here. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. So I just got sent something that seems to be doing the rounds. I haven't been able to see the exact source of it, but it seems to be popping up in a few places. So there's an ex-footballer called Fernando Torres. He was a Spanish player, a world-class player, and he retired, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. But it's been allegedly reported that he has commented somewhere, I don't know if it's on an interview or something, or in a Spanish periodical, but he has talked about the Epstein list and has said, when President Trump says about drug dealers in a quick trial and execute them, etc., Fernando Torres has said the same thing about people with the Epstein list. So I guess I have to be choose how I'm saying it, but that's what has been allegedly said by him, which is amazing, which is really big news, and hopefully we see more of that. It doesn't get squashed, or maybe it's just sowing the seeds. The interesting thing about it is, in my very first PSYCH CLUB video, I actually made reference to Fernando Torres, and I said that he got a disproportionate amount of flack because of how good he was, and I likened that onto President Trump at the time as well. I also did tie in with it with David Beckham, but I realised that Beckham has been on the wrong side of the fence, and that's playing out now in the public, and that will just increase, I think, for them. But Fernando Torres, so the interesting thing about him as well is he was a brilliant player, then he went through a really tough patch at Chelsea, although again that was disproportionately out of proportion, it was exaggerated. He didn't do as well as he'd done in other clubs, but he still did okay. They basically said he didn't score any goals. I think he scored something like 39 goals in the total over a few years with them. But he did go, for his standards, he went through a rough patch. And I don't know, maybe he's been exposed to things. Now you see him, he's really big, he's buff, because one of the things he depended upon was his speed. And he looked like a good person. He had like a kind of just a good demeanour, good aura about him. But that can be tricky as well with some, but it's interesting that he's been associated with this comment, with this statement. But I did mention him in my first PSYCH CLUB video, so it's interesting. I don't think I've ever mentioned him before then, not I can recall. So it's interesting how things come back round on the time loop, on the timelines. Now when you see him, or at least a few years ago when I saw him, I guess the last time, he's a lot buffer. He does a lot of weights. Whether he's a central casting at 2.0, I don't know. I can't verify that for sure. But he looks like the real guy, but just a lot fitter. Well, I say fitter, just more muscle bulk, because he didn't necessarily need that much in football because he relied on his pace. But we'll see. The other thing about it's interesting is, so a team that he played for, I think when he was a kid or youth, had the name Storm in the team, and also he was likened unto El Nino. They call Torres El Nino, which is that sort of trailing wind across the Atlantic, the Gulf Stream, the El Nino, the sort of the winds, makes you think of storms, etc. So it's interesting that he's either been selected or organically come to the front and been saying this. So hopefully we see more of this now. But the Epstein thing is now, seems to be accelerating. It seems like it will pick up more of a pace now, and the Epstein files, the Epstein list, seems to be one of the massive triggers that will trigger the storm as it gets deeper and deeper, you know. But the thing is with that is, when people of such a high public persona start to come out and tell people things, that's when automatically the people, the NPCs, the asleep, and just, you know, ordinary folk will start to believe and wake up, because the third person in the room has always been the media. Hence people like me, my channel has been so suppressed because we speak truth. They control, or have done, control the media, although hopefully we see that's shifting. I hope so. I mean, there has, you know, they have to control, I guess, certain parts of the narrative, and it's a blended thing of, you know, dark versus light, and we just do our thing and let the chips land where they may. But yeah, Storm is 85, Awakening 85, Silver 85 when you spell them in numbers, Matrix 85. So it's interesting that this player, player 77, character 77, Christ 77, Hertz 77, Power 77, Matter 77, Vibrate 77. It's interesting that El Nino, Fernando Torres, is allegedly said this statement about what needs to be done with those on the list publicly, what needs to happen to them. Think Braveheart, you know, at the end of Braveheart, that sort of stuff, which President Trump has said just in, you know, the lower levels of drug traffickers. If you could, you know, do such a lower level, but you know what I'm saying. So let's see that hopefully this will amplify. I mean, at some point it has to amplify, and it seems like it's starting to do that with the list. And more will be implicated. Another thing as well, I've mentioned I'm watching this show, The Traitors, and there's the US version, there's the UK version, Irish, Australian, New Zealand. There might be some other territories, but they're the ones I know of. It's interesting that the design of that show, Traitors, The Traitors, is so interesting and intriguing, but also what it's doing is it's showing people, showing me, they're showing the public that even when you think you can trust someone, they can turn, or they can be compromised. And I think that's another red pill to show people, these people that they've trusted in the public eye, so many of them can be traitors. And that's what I think is being shown. I think that's one of the reasons for that TV show, The Traitors, to have come out in the last few years and to be so popular. Because it's playing out in real time. People will be more surprised, or continue to be more surprised, about those actually implicated and actually guilty of doing things in the Epstein arena. Another thing I saw, I'd have to find the tweet, but someone was talking about Epstein doing cloning and having cloning labs below the ground and all that stuff. So if you remember, when I was doing stuff on Charlie Kirk back in September when that occurred, I did the numbers on 322, which is the Skull and Bones number that club, that fraternity adopted, 322. If you do the Utah Valley University, it comes to 322. And I said, well, underneath there, that's why the White Hats let that psyop occur there, that they showed, they're pointing the finger at Utah, but Utah's not the only place, but they're pointing it because there's a CIA hub, and they're pointing the finger and showing that under the ground where Charlie Kirk, that event happened there. And it was deliberately so, you know, kind of obvious that it wasn't what was shown on the tin. It's made a lot of normies question it and wake up and be aware of it. But nevertheless, I said that 322 comes to Jeffrey Epstein cloning facility, and I've felt for a while that the way that they take missing people, young ones, women, men, you know, it's like, how do people not know they've gone? Because they can clone them and change them over and bring them back out. That's what seems to make sense to me. That's what's kind of come to me. But it's interesting that someone else is talking about cloning facilities with Jeffrey Epstein. So yeah, and the light just came on just as I said that. I don't know if you saw that in the picture, but just in front of me, someone's light came on in their house. But yeah, Jeffrey Epstein cloning facility is 322, and someone else is talking about the cloning facilities that Epstein was involved in, hence all the others that they caught in regards to that. Epstein Island, 147, the trump card. They had to catch them, you see. It's almost like a Minority Report. Just to the point of them doing it, they catch them, and then they're caught, and they're done. Quick trial, military trial. Then you have to use cloning, 2.0, all the rest of it to show and prove to the world that what's gone on. But the way you disarm a bomb is you disarm it before they even know it was about to go off. And then, if there's a purpose to wake up the world, then you do that through a controlled wake-up process, and that's what's going on. So it's a complex operation, folks, but hopefully you can read between the lines and understand what's going on. But it's very interesting that Fernando Torres, the Spanish footballer, played for Liverpool, Chelsea, Atletico Madrid, Spain. I think he went to the MLS in the end. No, he went out to China. No, he went out to Japan, I think it was. Big in Japan. Alphaville do great songs. But how it's all come back around, because I mentioned him in my very first video back in May 21st, 2020, in lockdown. So, anyway. The markets, silver seems to be creeping up very slowly. Crypto's sort of doing it sideways, bobbing around. Like I said yesterday, it's a great time to get in and get your Tangent wallet. The offer for the 10%, the $10 extra, you get 10% with my link. You get 10% off with Tom Numbers. You click the link and it will take you through to the page and say Tom Numbers in the coupon box. But right now, they're going to take it off probably tomorrow. I need to check the date they take it, but they're taking it very soon. Was the extended offer for January, where you get $10 worth of free Bitcoin in your Tangent wallet, which you can keep, you can exchange, you can do whatever you want with that. I would exchange it into X coins. That'd be my opinion, but it's up to you. But you might as well take advantage. If you're on the fence thinking about it, you might as well get it now. A bunch of you got it yesterday because I told you that that offer is about to close, so I would do that today if you haven't already done so. Do it. And those in the chat who's got Tangent wallets, tell me what color wallets you got. What wallets have you got? What color? There's a whole bunch out there. So anyway, I will see you tomorrow, folks. All right, God bless. Much